clarification. The item on the agenda this evening is item 22/04/0454, that's Ottershaw East Housing. That evening will be introduced by Louise.
Thank you, Chairman. This application comprises a hybrid application seeking full planning permission for the demolition of existing buildings and the erection of 184 dwellings, including 35% affordable housing, 2 gypsum tavern kitchens, replacement garages for 155 and 157 Brox Road, and an associated access and new landscaping. In addition, outline permission is proposed for a new GP circuit. The site is an allocated site within the local plan under policy SL12. This policy also includes the field nursery, I'll just show you on the plan there, that's this area, which is not included as part of this application. You'll see on the screen, this is the site location plan, and the application site includes the land outlined in red. This area is for the new development, and this area is a proposed attenuation basin for the new subs and the drainage scheme. The area in blue on this plan is also to be discussed after this item, and that's an area proposed for a new sand. You'll see in front of you an aerial image of the site, which helps you to understand the sort of layout at the moment. So this is the application site in here, and you can see the existing buildings to be demolished. The site currently is a horticultural nursery. There's an existing access onto Brox Road at the moment, and the area is currently open grassland. And you'll see the existing properties along here to the northwest, fronting Brox Road, having access onto Brox Road, and this is Southwood Avenue here to the southwest. This is an existing site layout plan which has been provided by the applicant, and you will see this area in yellow running along the east of the site. This is an existing public footpath which will be protected and enhanced as part of the scheme. And these are the existing buildings that you can see to be demolished. To provide some context, here are some existing photographs of the site. This is the application site entrance here. This is the access going in, and the area at the front is existing hard surfacing. These are the existing neighbouring properties immediately abutting the site on both sides. This is a site, this is an image of existing properties on the same side of the road, with Brox Road towards the northwest. And this is the other side of the site, which is this property here. This is the existing local context. This site is, this shows images on the opposite side of the road to the application site. And I think all of these images demonstrate that the area has a mixture of architectural styles. These are some images within the site, and the top image shows the views towards the northwest of the site, towards Brox Road, and you can see the backs of the existing properties here along Brox Road. And this is the meat school here on this side of the existing planting. And this is, the bottom image is looking southwest towards Southwood Avenue. And these are the existing buildings to be demolished. And this is the back of existing properties along Southwood Avenue. These final photographs show longer distance views of the site, close to the existing footpath to the east of the site. This image is looking towards Southwood Avenue. And these are once again the existing buildings to be demolished. And this is looking towards Brox Road and the Meath School area here. This is the proposed site layout, which follows extensive negotiations with the applicant, and full details of this are explained within the committee report, paragraph 3.13. A particular note is a new tree-lined avenue running to the centre of the site, and this includes both pedestrian and cycle routes. There have been 2 new areas of local areas of play within the site. This is the area proposed for the outline GP surgery. This area here is proposed for the 2 gypsy and traveller pitches. And looking back to the original 21 applications that were withdrawn for the land, this proposes a reduction in the number of residential units from 220 to 184. The development is predominantly 2-storey, including some units with accommodation within their roof areas, with 3-storey developments concentrated in this part of the site along the main avenue, and they have been set back from Brox Road. As outlined in the officer's report, the development is felt to be of a high quality of design, which has been landscape-led. The applicant has provided an assessment of the existing local character, and their design and access statement explains how this has informed the design of the development. They have divided the area into 4 different character areas, and this is expanded on within the committee report within paragraph 3.7. This is a street scene image from Brox Road, and if you recall from the earlier photographs, we saw the existing properties on each side, gable end 2-storey properties. So this is the street scene that the applicant has provided, which shows how they have looked at the design of the existing properties and looked to use that to help inform the scale and design of the frontage plot. These are other images of the street scenes. So this is street scene AA, this is the main avenue, where I showed you which was tree-lined and had the cycling and pedestrian routes. The B is the rural edge. I'm sorry. Yes, sorry. BB is the rural edge. And CC is the central break area, and that is towards the boundary with Brox Road. And DD is the southern edge area. Sorry. This is an image of one of the apartment blocks which they provided in their design and access statement. And these are the 3-storey apartment blocks here, forming part of the development cluster along the main avenue. And here are some CGI images of the development. This is the top view is showing it along the main avenue, and you'll see the tree-lined street. And you'll see in the distance, that's the view towards the Sang. And the bottom image is the view from the Sang, looking up towards the development. And there's been some further images provided. The top image is one of the 3-storey apartment blocks. And the bottom image are some of the 2-storey properties which are adjacent to the GP surgery and the new lab, which is to be provided on the site. There's some images coming up of the proposed garages for the development. So there are single garages, some double garages, and they also include cycle storage, a triple garage, and plots 3 to 15 has got a single garage, and then there's also some bin stores as well. And to end on the site layout.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, this is the final image. So letter of representation and constituent responses are summarised in both the committee report and the addendum. This application is felt to be acceptable in principle. It provides an appropriate quantum of development while securing a high quality design which both protects and enhances the character of the area. The development has been landscape-led and creates a sense of place. There will be no adverse impacts upon the amenities of existing residential properties. The development will protect and enhance biodiversity and green and blue infrastructure, and will provide suitable mitigation towards the Thames Basin Heath SPA and protected species. The development complies with policies relating to heritage, environmental protection, flooding and drainage, highway safety and parking, health and well-being, affordable housing and sustainable design. The application provides for an area of land for a GP surgery in line with policy SL12 of the local plan. This element is an outline form only, therefore further details of the access, appearance, landscaping, layout and scale need to be considered as part of a separate reserved matters application. The development is considered to comply with policies within the local plan and the NPPF, and for the reasons outlined in the report, is subject to the prior completion of the Section 106 legal agreement and conditions as outlined in the report and the addendum. It's recommended that permission be granted.
Thank you very much, Louise. For your presentation to us this evening. We do have a public speaker on this item, so if I can at this stage kindly ask representative from the BRAG to step forward. Is that Gemma? Gemma. Thank you very much, Gemma. You have 5 minutes, so as you're ready, pop the light on.
Testing.
Testing. Can hear you. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Thank you. We accept that the site on Ottershaw East is allocated for housing and do not object to this principle. The main areas that do not comply with running policies and are therefore not consistent with high quality design are arrangements behind 151 Brox Road and Southwood Avenue, the identikit design and lack of character, lack of tree-lined roads contrary to the requirement within the NPPF, density and housing mix. The law stipulates that planning decisions must have regard to the development plan which requires high quality design. The NPPF states that applications which are not well designed should be refused, especially where they fail to reflect local and government design policies. Therefore, Runnymede design policy is not just guidance, it is the benchmark against which this application must be assessed. There is no reason why the applicant cannot achieve the required housing numbers and comply with design policies. This application fails to comply in important areas without justification and therefore should be rejected. The net density of this development is even higher at 38 dwellings per hectare than the current development at Brox aimed at 32 dwellings per hectare. The housing mix departs from policy SL12 by increasing 3 to 5 bedroom houses at the expense of 1 to 2 bedroom dwellings, contrary to the housing needs assessment specifically for Ottershaw by NPPF, which showed a deficit of 1 to 2 bedroom houses and oversupply of larger houses. By increasing the average house size and build form, the footprint for the same number of dwellings is increased, adding to overall density. Policy SL12 already considered borough-wide balance when it set the housing mix for this site. Therefore, this does not excuse non-compliance with this policy. The application ignores the local and national design guides in the arrangement behind 151 Brox Road. Runnymede design policy specifies back-to-back plot arrangement. However, a 3-storey high apartment building and parking court is placed behind a semi-detached house. The officer's report clearly states in paragraph 7.19 that new dwellings adjacent to existing properties in Brox Road will be restricted to only 2 stories in height. So why is a 3-storey apartment block allowed here? The parking court fails to comply with local and national policies in that it is large, greater than 10 bays, not landscaped, and does not have natural surveillance. Almost all overlooking windows are from corridors or bedrooms which are not active rooms, contributing to secured by design. The arrangement is out of context, out of scale, and there is overlooking from the apartment block onto the garden of 149 and 151 Brox Road. This is sufficient grounds to reject this application. We have suggested alternative design solutions that would maintain housing numbers, which have been dismissed. The council should insist that policy is followed and that the development should attain a golden border for secured by design. Another example is the arrangement behind Southwood Avenue, where terraced housing is placed behind detached properties. The design is dominated by 16 parking bays, which are not broken up, contrary to the Surrey Council and Manual for Streets guides. Even the officer's report, paragraph 7.27, concedes that this is problematic. The sharp increase in density does not result from context and is not sympathetic to this existing built form. It is not non-compliant and it is not a back-to-back arrangement, contrary to Running Mead's design policy. Adjoining semi-detached houses would better reflect the existing built form, with a small loss of dwellings made up by substituting a couple of the 5-bedroom homes for 3-bed semis. This would preserve overall dwelling numbers, as the application is already oversupplied with 4 to 5-bedroom houses, contrary to policy SL12. Good design and efficient use of land could both be achieved, but the application fails to comply with policy, giving sufficient grounds to reject this application. Running Mead policy requires points of interest, landmark buildings, and variations of style. However, the identikit design shows little real variation between so-called character areas. A Google search will quickly reveal that the same pattern book is used at the applicant's sites nationally. This development could be placed anywhere in the country, and you would not know where you were. The NPPF requires that all new streets should be tree-lined, but only one street truly complies. The new National Planning Policy Framework 2021 strengthens the language on design and now states that applications which are not high quality should be refused. Planning inspectors have further empowered to reject applications on these grounds, with a recent shift in planning decisions against the applicants. High quality is defined as complying with local and national design guides, which are integral to the delivery of the development plan. Excuses for non-compliance should not include need for housing or land efficiency, as this has already been considered within the plan for this site. So it is up to the applicant to deliver both. It is not for the council to enable the applicant by compromising on design policies and reducing quality. The council must therefore reject the application, given that it does not satisfy the status of a high quality design as stipulated by development plan and the NPPF.
Thank you very much, Jen, for your presentation to us this evening. I'd like to ask applicant, so agent going forward, Tim Burton. Okay, Tim, if you're ready, put your light on, and you have 5 minutes from when you begin.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, members, I'd firstly like to thank your officers for bringing these 2 applications to committee with a recommendation for approval. You have before you 2 very detailed reports compiled by your officers. I trust that you have also all received our pre-committee briefing note. These provide further detail to the applications and how they've been shaped through the planning process over the past 2 years, through continued engagement with Running Mead Council officers, Ottershaw Ward councillors, the Ottershaw Neighbourhood Forum, Ottershaw Bragg and wider community. The 2 application sites are located within the adopted Running Mead local plan under policy SL12 for a minimum of 200 homes, 2 gypsum traveller pitches alongside land for GP surgery and a same for recreational use. Our proposals have been carefully considered to conform with the site allocation policy, whereas I'm also expecting and considering the feedback received, along with detailed consideration for the Running Mead design SPD and other technical assessments, including a day-night and sunlight assessment. These proposals have also been subject to a positive external design review. The scheme includes an affordable private housing mix that has been fully agreed by both your policy and housing teams. The layout meets all back-to-back distances and all the requirements outlined in your design SPD. A new landscape is proposed, alongside potentially significant established hedgerows along the western boundary of the site. The proposed dwelling numbers are appropriate considering the site-wide policy, and the balance of the allocation site, which is not included within this current application, can come forward separately in due course. As stated in the officer's report, the proposed development will ensure that there will be no adverse impact on the amenities of neighbouring properties or to future occupiers of the proposed development. The Highways Authority has raised no objections to the proposals. Car parking, cycle and bin storage standards all accord with policy requirements. In terms of sustainability, the development has been designed to exceed policy requirements within the local plan, including renewable energy provision and construction of highly efficient buildings which seek to minimise energy demand. For EV charging, proposed condition 24 requires a scheme to be submitted, and I can confirm that this will include a fast charging point for each new home, so a ratio of 1:1 in accordance with your recently adopted parking standards SPD. Importantly, there are no unresolved objections to statutory consultation and a range of planning conditions and applications are proposed. You'll hear shortly about the SANG, and just to say a few words on that now. National England support the SANG proposals and confirm that there is no need for a car park, as the SANG is to serve adjacent residential development. The SANG application will also unlock over 10 hectares of currently private land, which will be publicly accessible to future and existing residents to enjoy, as a significant new community asset. This open space will also feature new play areas and a community orchard, along with footpaths and trails and green networks to encourage active lifestyles and well-being, whilst enhancing ecology and biodiversity of the site. You've heard that the plans for GP surgery are in outline form, and the details of the construction of this being undertaken by a third party, whose experience and skills will be best placed to deliver the facility in the future. To summarise, the proposal is fully in accord with your planning policy requirements. There's no outstanding internal or external statutory consultee objections. We've been committed to working hard to respond to comments made by the local community and make significant amendments to the scheme to respond to the feedback we received throughout the process. Subject to planning permission, significant legal contributions will be delivered locally, including over £2.6 million worth of seal payments. The proposals will also deliver 65 affordable homes, a policy compliant 35%. Accordingly, we've asked members to approve the applications in accordance with your recommendation and the Council's allocation of this site. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim, for your presentation to us this evening. Members of the Council, you've had the presentation from the planning officer, you've heard from the objector and the applicant. I'm going to try to open the floor for further discussion. Councillor Mann, you are first on the button.
Thank you, Chief. And I'd like to say thanks to the residents for coming out tonight as well, and to Victoria and Louise for the amount of work and the effort that you have put into it. I do want to raise an issue with regards to the design. I feel that the houses do reflect something that you could pick out of a catalogue, and I don't think it fits in with the area, personally. I can't see it fitting in Ottershaw itself with the way it looks. I think a bit more effort needs to be done by the developer with regards to that. The other tree-lined street, you've only got the one street that is tree-lined down there where the NPPF states that all streets should be tree-lined, and I just want to find out why is there only one that is tree-lined. With regards to 151 Brox Road, I know in the office report in 7.19 it states that it should be restricted to 2 stories, but you're sitting at 3 stories. If I can have clarity on that. The ACOM report did state there were more need for 1 and 2 bedrooms. With regards to this, I think that we've gone for more 3 and 5 bedroom houses, so I'd like some clarity on that as well, if I can, please. Your car club scheme. I'd like to know if this could be conditioned. How is it going to be, how is it going to work? To make sure that people do use it. If houses are sold, do they have to sign into a car club scheme, or how is it going to work? Because is it just there? How is it going to be, how is it going to be maintained or looked after, or how are we going to make sure that that's used? So if you could please just let me know on that and see if we can put a condition in if we can with regards to that. With regards to Thames Water Report, I know it's stated there that there shouldn't be more than 40 more houses that should be connected to the waste system. I'm a bit worried about that. With the amount of houses that are going to be put in, the infrastructure there isn't going to handle it, so if I can find out and get some clarity from you on that, and see if there's any way that we can put a condition in that maybe not more than 40 houses are built until the infrastructure is in place. Or if nothing is built until the infrastructure can handle it. Thank you. The traveller pictures is another issue. There is no policy with regards to the ownership going forward, the management, etc. of those gypsy pictures. So I'd like some more clarity on that and see if there's any conditions that can be put in. Sorry, I just need to go through the rest of my comments. The cycle storage I see that we do have in there. I'd like to know how many garages do you have the cycle storage and how many don't. Could you give me that, please?
We might have to count them all, not off the top of the head.
That's fine. Also, with regards to the A320 roundabout and upgrade to that, do we have a TMP in place? Because if we are going to, I know they're going to let, what is it, 93 houses, they said, that could be built. If I'm not mistaken, in my head, you're looking at about 120 cars. You're looking at about 50% of those people going to work every day. You're looking at about 60 cars on the road. If that roundabout is closed off, where are the people going to go? There's only one way to go in and out the village, and that's down the McLaren side on the A320 side of Brox Road. Is there a traffic management plan for that? I think a condition should be put in that either no houses can be occupied until the A320 is finished, to alleviate anything, okay? Or that only 93 houses can be built to make sure that no further houses are occupied while the A320 is still going ahead. That's on that. With regards to the SUDs, I see the SUDs for part of the SAN and of the developable area. Now, if those SUDs were taken out of the developable area and only part of the SAN, it would affect the density, if I'm not mistaken. So if we can have some clarity on that, please. With regards to the new plans that are coming forward for 2025, for houses not to be built with gas boilers, what's the plan going forward? What does the developer have in store, or any plan that if he does go past 2025 with the building, is what plans does he have in place to deal with that? That's everything I have on the first application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mann, for those questions. There are obviously quite a few there. I think I've got all of them. You've got most of them. We'll make sure that we've got the answers for you, Councillor Mann. So I think the relationship was something I was keen to understand more about between the two stories. Directly from one. So that's the first period that Councillor Mann had. So we'll start with that, please.
It's the first one about the character and this to be anywhere.
Well, that was a opinion, but if you've got any further clarity on that, I'm sure
well, with that first point then, that was opinion, just to say that there has been assessment of the character of the area and the key design features that appear in Ottershaw, and they have been replicated as part of this to show that there is some connection. There isn't one key design of Ottershaw that is so unique that it can be clearly replicated. So what the developer has done is, in accordance with government guidance, they have done an appraisal of the area and they've drawn out key good design features and made sure that they're incorporated into their scheme. The tree lines then is an opinion as well, but just to say this is a landscape-led scheme. There's a balance here as well, the soft landscaping, all the boundary soft landscaping is being retained, it's being enhanced, there's landscape links, so that has played a contribution to the overall design of the scheme. With regard to the 3-storey and the 2-storey, you might have to take me through 151, which plot is that? 7.1. Is it adjacent to or not? So yes, if we can point out for the other members, so it's this here, which, because it's sort of, it clearly fronts onto the main avenue and is a sort of a juxtaposition to those properties to the rear, it hasn't got a direct back-to-back relationship like all the other has, and because it's at that different angle and the distance it's set off the boundary, that 3-storey building is not considered to have a detrimental impact
to that neighbour there through overlooking, overbearing loss of light. But that paragraph could be a little bit clearer in the report. So the mix of dwellings is, there's a table contained in your report. Okay, and at the same time as looking at that table, we have to have sight of also policy SL19, which is about the mix. And this tells us that we should not approve development that significantly departs from the SMART. It also does say, though, that there might be other reasons, like character reasons, that there might be divergence. Now, if you look at paragraph 7.54, you can see that for the one bedroom, there is a slight under-provision, but actually an over-provision in affordable. 2 bedrooms, again, there's a slight under-provision on the market housing. So if you look at that 3% and that 11%, there is a slight under-provision on market housing, whereas everything else is broadly akin. Now, importantly, we did consult our house policy section on here, and we actually have a current oversupply of smaller market units across the borough. So they are raising no objection to this slight deviation, because actually there's already an over-provision in the borough. And the other thing to remember as well is the character issue as well. And to have had a lot more apartment buildings within this development, officers considered would have started to cause harm to the character. The other issue, and it was a proposal put forward, was to start doing 1 or 2 sort of bed bungalows, the smaller accommodations. However, that's very hard to balance with our using the most efficient use of land, and they're very space hungry. So overall, this housing mix that is coming forward is not considered to be harmful and not considered to be contrary to the aims and objectives of that local plan policy SL19. Oh, which one did? Yeah, so that will have to be via a legal agreement. There isn't a mechanism that we can put a planning condition on. When you do part of the travel plans, there will be a mechanism where there is a review mechanism with Surrey County Council. You know, we can't force people to use car parks, but what we can do is ensure that the developer makes them as you know, as preferable, as you know, people want to use them, to give them the best offer. And so through any legal agreement there will be a certain set of conditions, and there's a lot of standard templates and practice on these car parks. Yes, so we have put, Thames Water had no objection subject to that condition, and we have put that condition on. Thames Water are a statutory provider. They were fully informed as part of our plan making process. They do know the level of housing that is to be developed, and it would be completely unreasonable for us to start saying they couldn't build until that was secured. There will be discussions, ongoing discussions between Thames Water and the developer, but we have provided a safety sort of net if there's not via that condition. But anything more than that would be unreasonable. So the traveller pitches, the provision of the 2 pitches is in accordance with the allocation policy, so they have complied with what the policy says. Going forward, the management and sale of them will all be controlled via the Section 106. Cycle storage, in some of the properties the cycle storage is contained within the garages, but where we do have the garages, if we're looking now at our updated standards and 2 car parking spaces for a 4-bed, it is a lot of those 4 beds that have the garage and the 2 car parking spaces. So even if the garage did get taken up with cars, they would still have 2 car parking spaces to provide the car parking. So they couldn't justify harm from that. The A320, that was a condition recommended by the county highways. We put that condition on. When the A320 works take place, all the management of those works and how it impacts Ottershaw will all take place through that. It would be unfair to prevent this development when you've got county highways saying that it is acceptable for a certain level of development to take place. Also, the evidence submitted as part of this application, the highway transport statement, all demonstrates that it is acceptable, and there's no other evidence contrary to that.
We'll just finish off the question. Yeah. Allow you to come back to Councillor Mann. So there was 2 further points: sounds, and then plans for boilers after 2025.
What's the sound question?
So it was SUDS in association with sound.
So
would you like just to qualify the question with regard to SUDS?
Sorry, my mic won't go on. It's fine. What I was just saying is that the SATS currently falls part of both applications. So it falls in the developable area and it falls part of the SAN. Now, if you take that area that the SADS is in, it's included in the developable area, which pushes the density of the housing up. If that SADS area is part of the SAN and should stay part of the SAN, not the developable area, then the density, I presume, would drop.
So is your question, are there sides of both?
I'm saying the SADS should stay in the SAN, and the density of the development should come down because it's sitting in both areas.
So I think we did 2 density calculations, one that was a gross and one that was the net, and the net took out the SUDS and what else did it take out? Here. The applicant has confirmed that the net site area to be some 4.82, that was the 38. But it didn't include the sites. The other thing is when you look about density and how it manifests itself, if we're saying this site, the density is too high, well, what is the harm from that? And when officers assess the layout of this site, we consider that it is an acceptable layout, it is spacious, it's not harmful. So even if the density, and it was always accepted that a lot of the densities on these allocated sites, because we are making the most efficient use of land, would be slightly higher than the surrounding densities, but it will be designed in such a way that that would not be harmful. So I think we have to look at the layout in front of us, and first of all consider, is there harm through that layout? Density can sometimes be a bit of a red herring.
Sorry, can I kindly ask, Councillor Cressy, I know your light's definitely on, and Councillor King, absolutely, but would you mind just dropping out and I'll come back to you, because we're struggling with a bit of volume up here, we're just trying to work. There we go. Okay, and then there was one further point that Councillor Mann raised with regard to gas boilers provision post-2025. So gas boilers post-2025, what are there any points that remains, or what provision are they?
Yeah, I would need to refresh with the statement, but we did consult the council's energy consultant during the So they are part of our policy and they are providing the PV panel. So it is policy compliant.
Councillor Mann, would you like to come back and then this one?
the 93 houses that can be occupied, according to Surrey, I just wanted to check, how can we make sure that only 93 houses get occupied and no more get occupied until the works are finished? Because if they're going to carry on and build more houses, what's to say that those houses don't get occupied? How are we going to make sure that only 93 get occupied?
Is this in relation to the A320 works?
It's with the condition from highways, yes. So how do we make sure that that is kept to 93?
Okay.
Yeah, this type of condition is quite common sometimes with our SAN. We would say no properties can be occupied until. So our enforcement will be able to go out there and with some fairly easy investigation, we'll be able to manage how many properties are being occupied.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll move on now, Councillor Jenkins, please.
Thank you, Chair. Whilst I accept that this land has been allocated for housing, a parcel of the land at the back of the proposed site still crosses into the green belt, and the site is also located within flood zone 1. The majority of the site should not have been removed from the green belt, in my view, and I am concerned that the site's conservation could be damaged. Although 138 EV charging points satisfies policy requirements, as stated in paragraph 3.6 on page 45, in theory, there could still be up to 227 cars descending on this site which rely on petrol and diesel. Furthermore, the creation of 2 to 3 storey buildings goes against the visual amenity of the surrounding area, which has been raised by the Ottershaw Neighbourhood Forum. And finally, the approval of this development would result in an inadequate biodiversity net gain. This would be a failure towards the Council's moral duty to tackle climate change and would be harmful to our residents and the planet. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jenkins, for your thoughts on that one. We hear from Councillor Mullins and then Councillor Harley. Councillor Mullins.
Thank you, Chair. So, paragraph 131 of the MPPF says, planning policies and decisions should ensure that new streets are tree-lined. So why on earth aren't we requiring this in the climate emergency that we're in? I mean, it's policy in the MPPF. Why aren't we requiring it?
Thank you. Councillor Mullins, any comments on your response, please?
Yes, what we need to remember is the MPPF is a material consideration and it is guidance, but there are competing sort of constraints here as well. So we are trying to make the most efficient use of land so we don't have to release further greenbelt. There is one tree-lined, heavily tree-lined street, but if you look at all the others, there are trees along those, or there is soft landscaping. So we do have ribbons of soft landscaping and trees throughout the whole development. There are lots of benefits to this site. There's the benefits of providing the housing, and that has to be balanced against these constraints. You also have to look at the orientation and the shading caused by trees and the future fear of people having the trees outside if they're too close. But we've also got to try and achieve our minimum housing numbers for these sites, as well as we make the best use of land. And we have a responsibility to do that. So it's a balance between these different issues.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Councillor Harley.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just at the outset, may I also say that the representative of the residents is known to me. I've met her on a prior occasion. And of course, I haven't decided on my vote this evening. I haven't predetermined my vote in any way, just again for the record. Could I take Victoria back to paragraph 719, and this is in the context of the height of the property, particularly by the border, the Brox Road border. And it says in the last sentence, and I quote, the design of the scheme ensures that the new dwellings positioned adjacent to the boundaries of the site of Brox Road and Southwood Avenue will be restricted in height to 2 stories. The design that I've seen suggests that all of these properties will be pitched roof in design, and I've seen skylights drawn into some of the design. So are we saying that this is actually a possible 2.5-storey type building? And if so, can we condition out the possibility of building into the roof, which will surely have an impact on neighbours in Brox Road? So that's question 1. Question 2 relates to the site layout as I see it. Could you confirm the width of the green buffer zone along the perimeter of the site, particularly in respect of the Brox Road border? And I noticed, and I can put my glasses on if you don't mind, a short sight from a distance, that the buffer zone in relation to half of the area between Brox Road and the site, the northern side, seems to be a larger in width than the southern bit towards the entrance. Can you explain why that is the case? Then in terms of 7.39, which is the reference that you made earlier to the soft landscaping scheme, and you reference new semi-mature and standard trees, new hedge planting, new shrub and new bulb planting, new areas of grassland. Could you explain where all of that planting will take place, and will it include all of the area adjoining Brox Road? Because I'm particularly concerned about the impact on residents who live on that road. And then the last question I have relates to 7.27. So apologies, I take it to 7.39 and I mistake it to 7.27. And 7.27 references the 2 proposed parking spaces. This is behind Southwood Avenue and 151 Brox Road, which you say in your own report could benefit from being broken up more. However, neither of these parking areas are in prominent positions and would therefore not have a significant impact on the design. Are you, in light of what you said in the previous sentence, still content with that comment? Is that not a contradiction in terms? Can you explain why, on the one hand, you suggest it could be broken up, and on the other, you think, well, actually, on balance, not? So those are my questions.
I beg your pardon, Councillor Everton's 727.
727, correct. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hunt, for those questions. Okay, so the 2.5 stories as opposed to 2 stories is a possible condition on moving it along.
Yeah, I think Councillor Hine makes a good point here, because if there were to be dormer windows or roof lights, new roof lights that are appearing in those rear elevations, that could have an issue. So we have condition 5 is the removal of permitted development rights. That takes away class A, B, C and E. B and C are roof alterations and the dormer windows. So that is in there. The width of the green buffer, we don't have scale, we're all electronic, we had our technical questions and that hasn't come up, and we can't give you that answer as part of the meeting, I'm afraid. That should have been raised with us earlier and we would have happily measured it for you. But I don't have access to the tools to do it now.
There was a point raised about planting.
So to the planting, Luke, can you point out where the new additional areas of planting are to go on the plans?
So what I would also say is that there is actually a planning condition requiring further details of both hard and soft landscaping, which obviously will be considered as part of a future application. But you did refer to, what was the paragraph again when you were talking about the planting?
739.
739.
Yes,
739. So at the moment, this is just a sort of illustrative plan. So there is a condition recommended where we can assess the planting in more detail. But the landscaping did include new semi-mature and standard trees, which you will see on that plan in front of you, showing an indication of the positioning of the trees. And new hedge planting, so I think there was some proposals to boost boost the existing hedge planting along here, and also there's some additional planting along the barriers here, with Brox Road, which obviously we will assess further details of that as part of a future planning application for discharge into condition. It also talks about new bulb planting, so within the front gardens, for example. I know they were proposing some additional bulb planting, and these areas here as well, along the north and eastern boundary, that was going to be significantly enhanced with additional planting, meadow planting along those areas. But as I say, there is a condition recommended in respect to hard and soft landscaping, so we can consider that in further detail as part of that future application.
There was one further point that Councillor Mann raised with regard to section 7.27 and the statement there on provision of layout of car parking spaces. Are there any comments that you have on that?
Yes, so in paragraph 7.27 there are two slight weaknesses there, and when you're negotiating we put them to the developer. They are satisfied that the development is of high quality, and they are not prepared to do any more, to lose more units or to break those areas up. So therefore we have to make an overall judgment. Do those small areas then render the whole scheme unacceptable, and should it be refused? So in that assessment, that's when we start to... Sorry, are you shaking your head?
Victoria, I'm not shaking your head at you, and I absolutely hear what you have to say, but I have to sound astounded to hear that is the attitude of the developer. I mean, this is a partnership exercise, and I would have thought that that would require further conversation between you on our behalf and the developer. Because if we don't get consensus, then that is a real concern for me to see.
Thank you, Councillor Ali. Can we move on now to Mr. Councillor?
Thank you, Chair. Everything about coming in last is everyone's asked the questions. But I do still have a couple outstanding. One in particular, this is obviously a full application, so what we see in front of us here on the screen is what will be delivered. In particular, I was looking at the traveller site, the traveller pitches in the corner, and to me they just seem in the most awkward place, because with traveller pitches, obviously people are coming and going quite a bit with larger vehicles perhaps than a lot of people. And there seems to be, like in the far corner, they've got to get round the corner. And I just wondered whether there was any any reason why they've actually been put in that corner. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further comments?
No, that's...
Thank you very much. The response to the traveller's pitches.
Just to say, so the policy required only 2 traveller pitches, so the frequency of vehicular movements from 2 pitches will be incredibly low, and the developer did provide us with a swept path analysis to make sure, though, that vehicles could manoeuvre on and off of the site.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mann, your light's on.
Yes, I was just waiting for the answer to my cycle storage. I didn't get a number from you with regards to that.
Thank you, Councillor Mann.
And the other one I just wanted to find out about, I just wanted to mention as well, the policy EE2, noise impact policy, from Fair to Airport, the amount of noise that we get from the planes coming over there in the Brox Lane residents have complained on numerous occasions with regards to the noise produced by planes, low-flying planes coming across. Is there a noise impact survey or anything that has been done with regards to this? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Yes, there was a noise assessment that was done, and it did, we read it earlier, did take into account noise from aircraft.
Okay, so we've got a couple of queries from non-members of the committee. We've got Councillor Cressy followed by Councillor King.
Thanks, Chairman. really appreciate you allowing me to talk, because I'm not a member of the committee. I will try to be as brief as possible and try and illuminate education. I really just want to say that many people will perhaps not be aware, but the amount of work and effort that has gone into this application is quite astounding. And there are too many people to actually say thank you to. But the officers, residents, Brian, and others, and the developer, all of you guys have been absolutely fantastic. You know, we started off with probably about 200 issues, and you guys who sent in your letters would probably know that as fact. You know, massive numbers of issues which were raised. And right now, we're probably only down to about half a dozen issues of any concern or any significance. And I think that's just a testimony to the communication that has taken place. I take Councillor Harley's point that, you know, there's still a way to go and there's still a bit more talking to be done. But overall, I think everybody who's been involved in this needs to be extremely proud of themselves. This has been the way planning applications should be done. Really fantastic news. I've got a couple of issues I wanted to raise. The first issue is travel pictures, and the second issue is the GP surgery location. As far as I know, there is no policy on traveller pictures in this context. Okay, there's certainly policies regarding traveller pictures, but this is a different context. And I'd like to see, personally, I would like to see some sort of a condition or informative or whatever it happens to be. But I'll leave it to the officers to figure out what it should be, and to include that into this application. What I'd like to see, and certainly our group believes this is the right way to go, is that those traveller pictures should not be owned by the travellers themselves in the short to medium term. Okay? It might be, if you think about it, it's a bit of an experiment that's going on, and it's a bit new, and I think that we're not serving the residents of Ottershaw and actually the whole running it, because this applies to every developable site in the local plan. And I think that it would be remiss of us to not have that debate on pitches in this scenario, okay, and have an understanding of how we go forward with it. Personally, I think we should own them, and maybe in 5 years' time, when they've set the policies and the direction, and we've got an enduring process, then we can perhaps look at selling those sites. So that's the first issue. The second issue, I think, is the GP surgery location in the Ottershaw East development is great. Thank you very much. It's very good. Personally, I don't think it's in the right place in Ottershaw. I think it probably needs to be nearer to the centre of the village, and I think that the developer would be more than happy to contribute to, if there was a more suitable site found for the GP practice, he would be quite happy to negotiate with Runnymede to make sure that their contribution is made. Now, I think that it's not really incumbent on us to get into that negotiation. I think it's really incumbent on the Ottershaw Neighbourhood Forum and for the Dr. Turner at the GP practice to just see where they can go with it, and if necessary, they can chat to the district or whoever else. Thanks, Chairman. Once again, I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Chairman, as again a non-member of this committee. I think one of my questions was already answered on the removal of permitted development rights, particularly around garage sites, that fits with obviously our requirements on 3.5 within condition 5. Sorry. Highways Department, particularly around parking restrictions that will be potentially required in the future. The GP surgery stays there. Having issues in my own county ward, I think it will be wise the developer engages now with requesting the Highways Authority puts parking restrictions on, certainly around there, to improve the safety of the public highway. In terms of 13 as well, are we requesting that anything around soakaways or physical drainage, given with the proximity to the floodplain, when we have the outlining surface water drainage plan, are we conditioning anything there in terms of whether we're having a soakaway or an actual drain?
Thank you. Councillor Keane, any further
No, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Keane. Technical issue associated with condition 13, you say, Councillor? Both of the floodplains. Yeah. And then relations with regard to parking restrictions in the county for the doctor's surgery.
That was in respect of the informative, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
We could have an informative on. Yeah, we can have an informative on. With regard to surface water drainage, this site is called sort of flood zone 1, but that sort of means that it's not in the flood zone. The surface water drainage details, they're all to be secured by that condition, and we'll find out further details through that. So not quite sure.
I mean, Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't make the point. Perhaps an informative would be that it would be preferable to have either proper soakaways in terms of larger bulk maps to them, just to predict and try to look at future problems for those residents when those soakaways ultimately become clogged if they're not the right type of soakaway.
I would want to take advice from my drainage engineer before advising on a certain route, as that's not my area of qualification.
I'll leave it there, Mr. Chairman. It's just an advice.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith.
Thanks, Chair. Regarding drainage, that will come down to the building control. So it's not part of the planning. Okay? So the detail of that will come under building control.
Any further lights?
Sorry, Chair, can I ask for a name vote, please?
Okay, members of the committee, thank you very much for that full debate. Councillor Smith.
The CHD MVC be authorised to grant planning permission subject to the completion of the Section 106 agreement. And under that agreement there are items 1 to 12. In addition there are conditions 1 to 27, conformities 1 to 16, plus the additional conformity regarding additional parking that we need to refer to Surrey Council, and plus the addendum notes. Do I have a second?
To second that. Thank you very much, Councillor Smith and Councillor Howarth. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, if you please indicate for, against, or abstaining. Councillor Willingham. For. Councillor Snow. For. Councillor Brunel. For. Councillor Bromley. For. Councillor Cohen. For. Councillor Cunningham.
For.
Councillor Howard.
For.
Councillor Hulley.
Against.
Councillor Jenkins.
Against.
Councillor King.
For.
Councillor Mann.
Against.
Councillor Mullins.
Abstain.
Councillor Newsy.
For.
And Councillor White. That's 2 members in favour, so the motion passes.
Thank you very much, members of the committee, for that clear steer. Take this